Amara had always dreamed of a peaceful home with Kemi, the man she loved. From the moment they married, she imagined waking up each morning with sunlight streaming through the windows, sharing quiet moments with him, and enjoying the small joys of life together. Their little house in the village was modest but cozy. It had a small garden in front, where Amara loved to plant flowers, and a tiny kitchen that she had arranged carefully. Everything was perfect, or so she thought. Kemi was kind and caring, always thinking of ways to make Amara feel comfortable. He worked at a small workshop during the day but made sure to come home in time to share meals and talk with her. Life was simple yet fulfilling, and Amara felt happy and loved. However, things began to change the day his mother, Lola, decided to come and stay. Lola had always been a strong-willed woman. She had a loud voice, sharp opinions, and a habit of interfering in matters that didn't concern her. Amara had met her before the marriage and thought she could handle her with patience and respect. But living together was different. Lola arrived with several large bags, a determined smile, and a sense of authority that filled the house. From the moment she stepped inside, Amara sensed that peace might not last as easily as she hoped. The first morning was quiet enough. Lola helped herself to breakfast, and Amara served her politely. But soon the remarks began. "Amara, is this how you boil water?" Lola asked as she glanced at the pot on the stove. "It's too thick. Kemi will not like it." Amara smiled politely, saying nothing, though her hands trembled slightly. She had worked hard on that breakfast, yet Lola's sharp words made her feel small. Kemi, noticing the slight tension, glanced between the two women but said nothing. As the days passed, Lola's criticisms grew more frequent. She commented on the dishes, the arrangement of the house, and even how Amara spoke to Kemi. "You should fold the clothes differently," she told Amara one afternoon, moving freshly folded laundry around the room. "Kemi will not appreciate this mess." Amara remained calm, carefully placing the clothes where Lola had instructed, though inside she felt frustrated and invisible. She knew arguing would only escalate the tension. Amara noticed a pattern. Lola never offered genuine help. Instead, she inserted herself into every task, criticizing silently or openly, making Amara doubt her own abilities. She whispered small complaints to Kemi, suggesting that Amara wasn't doing enough. At first, Kemi thought Lola was only trying to help, but soon he noticed a change in Amara's mood. She seemed quieter, more reserved, and often forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. One evening, as they all sat down to dinner, Lola criticized the food again. "Amara, the soup is too bland. Don't you know how to season properly?" Amara lowered her eyes politely, taking a small sip, while Kemi looked concerned. He had always known his mother could be strong-minded, but he did not realize how much her behavior affected his wife. He reached across the table and gently touched Amara's hand, hoping to reassure her. Amara appreciated the gesture but did not want Kemi to feel caught in the middle. She smiled faintly, saying, "It's fine, Kemi. I can adjust it later." She knew confronting Lola openly might make things worse. Instead, she decided to handle the situation quietly, observing Lola's behavior, remembering every word, and thinking carefully about how to respond. She understood that patience would be her greatest tool. During the days that followed, Amara adjusted her routine to accommodate Lola's constant oversight. She prepared meals carefully, rearranged the house to meet Lola's exacting standards, and spoke politely at all times. Inside, however, Amara felt a growing sense of determination. She refused to let Lola's criticism make her feel less capable or unwelcome in her own home. She began paying close attention to every comment, every movement, and every expression, quietly learning how her mother-in-law operated. Kemi tried to maintain peace, often agreeing with Lola in small ways to prevent arguments. But he also noticed Amara's discomfort and realized that something had to be done. He saw her forcing smiles, her careful movements, and the way she paused before speaking, measuring her words. He understood that Lola's presence was weighing heavily on her, and he felt a mixture of worry and frustration. Amara, meanwhile, thought of ways to keep the household calm while maintaining her dignity. She decided that she would not allow herself to be intimidated, but neither would she act impulsively. She began planning small, subtle strategies to manage Lola's behavior, learning how to stay composed even when criticized. She found that smiling politely and speaking calmly often diffused situations, preventing Lola from escalating her criticisms. One morning, Lola inspected the garden and frowned. "Amara, these flowers are in the wrong place. Kemi will not like this arrangement." Amara listened quietly and nodded, pretending to adjust the plants, but she mentally noted Lola's tendency to criticize even the smallest details. She realized that understanding Lola's patterns was the key to maintaining peace. Each day, Amara became more patient, more observant, and more clever in how she handled her mother-in-law. Despite Lola's constant interference, Amara did not let it ruin her relationship with Kemi. She continued to speak kindly to him, support him in his work, and maintain a calm, organized home. Kemi admired her quiet strength, though he had not yet realized the full extent of Lola's controlling nature. Amara felt a quiet confidence growing within her, knowing that she could handle the situation with patience and cleverness, without creating conflict. One evening, after Lola had gone to bed, Amara spoke softly to Kemi. "I know my mother's presence is difficult, but I have a plan to manage it," she said. Kemi listened carefully, impressed by his wife's composure and intelligence. He had expected frustration or anger, but Amara's calm approach made him feel hopeful. Together, they agreed to handle situations carefully, allowing Amara to guide the household with patience while keeping Kemi informed. Over the next few days, Amara practiced this approach. She remained polite to Lola, followed her instructions when possible, and observed her every action quietly. She discovered that Lola thrived on creating tension but could not handle calm intelligence. The more Amara stayed composed, the more frustrated Lola became, although she did not yet realize it. Amara's quiet confidence began to shift the balance in the household subtly. Amara also realized the importance of small gestures. She thanked Lola for her suggestions politely, even when they were unnecessary, and allowed Kemi to see her gentle responses. This prevented arguments and slowly showed Kemi that Amara was capable of handling difficult situations. Amara understood that patience, observation, and a calm mind were far more powerful than confrontation or anger. By the end of the first week of Lola's stay, the tension in the household was noticeable but manageable. Amara had learned to move carefully, speak thoughtfully, and observe all interactions without reacting impulsively. She had gained insight into her mother-in-law's patterns and was ready to plan the next steps. Although Lola remained critical, Amara's calm and composed responses began to frustrate her, though she did not yet understand why. Amara woke up early that morning, the soft sunlight filtering through the curtains of her small, cozy home. She had already begun to notice a pattern in her mother-in-law Lola's behavior. At first, it had been simple criticism, comments about the meals, the cleaning, the way she spoke to Kemi, but now Lola's interference had grown more clever, more subtle. She no longer needed to raise her voice. Her small actions spoke loudly enough. That day, Amara started preparing breakfast quietly, moving about the kitchen with calm efficiency. She knew Lola was watching her, likely ready to find fault in every motion. Sure enough, as Amara poured water into the kettle, Lola's sharp eyes noticed the angle of the pour. "Amara, be careful. You might spill it," Lola said, her voice sweet but laced with criticism. "Kemi will not like if the table gets wet." Amara smiled politely and nodded, adjusting the kettle slightly. She refused to show any irritation. She understood that even a small sign of frustration would encourage Lola to continue. Instead, she quietly began to note every remark in her mind, observing patterns, remembering details. She started to pay attention not just to what Lola said, but also to her movements, her expressions, and the tone in which she spoke. After breakfast, as Amara began tidying the kitchen, Lola started moving objects around. She picked up utensils and plates, rearranging them in ways that suited her idea of order. "No, not like that," she said softly. "Kemi prefers them this way. You should learn to arrange them correctly." Amara allowed Lola to move the items, her hands steady, her voice calm. Inside, she recorded each small movement in her memory. She realized that Lola thrived on minor disruptions, enjoying the sense of control it gave her. Kemi walked into the kitchen and noticed the tension in the room. He paused, seeing Amara's calm composure and Lola's subtle insistence. "Is everything okay?" he asked, glancing at both women. Lola smiled innocently and said, "I'm just helping, Kemi. I want the kitchen to look nice." Kemi nodded, unsure what to say. He had always trusted his mother, but he could sense that Amara's patience was being tested in ways he had not noticed before. Amara had learned that confrontation would not work. If she argued with Lola or tried to correct her, it would only escalate the situation. So she chose a different strategy. She decided to observe quietly, gather information, and plan carefully. She noted how Lola reacted when Kemi was present, when she was alone, and when small mistakes appeared in the household. Each detail became part of a mental map that Amara would use to navigate the coming days. In the afternoon, Amara went to tend the garden. She had planted colorful flowers near the porch, and Lola followed her, inspecting the arrangement closely. "Amara, these flowers are not aligned properly," Lola said. "Kemi likes them straight, not in curves." Amara paused, smiled and nodded. She rearranged the flowers gently, making sure to stay calm. Inside she thought, every time she tries to control me she shows her pattern. I just need to watch and learn. That evening when Kemi returned from work, Lola whispered small doubts in his ear. "Amara doesn't understand how to manage the house properly," she said quietly. "She missed a spot in the kitchen today." Kemi looked surprised. He trusted Amara but also wanted to keep his mother happy. Amara, seeing the exchange, did not react outwardly. She understood that Lola's whispers were designed to create tension, and she refused to give her that satisfaction. Amara began keeping mental notes of every trick. She remembered which objects Lola moved, which meals she criticized, and which comments were meant to confuse Kemi. She realized that patience alone would not be enough. She needed a plan. She had to handle Lola's interference cleverly, without anger or confrontation. This understanding gave her a quiet sense of control over a situation that otherwise felt overwhelming. Over the next few days, Lola's tricks became more elaborate. She began moving Amara's personal items, like the sewing kit and the spices in the kitchen. She questioned every decision, suggesting that Amara's way was wrong, and subtly tried to make Kemi doubt his wife's abilities. Amara noticed it all but remained composed. She knew that showing irritation would give Lola power, so she continued to observe silently, thinking carefully about how to respond. One morning, Lola moved several utensils on the kitchen counter and whispered to Kemi, "See? She forgot to put them back properly again." Kemi frowned, but Amara calmly stepped forward and rearranged the items. She smiled politely at Lola and said softly, "Thank you, I will remember next time." Lola was slightly surprised. She expected frustration or a defensive reply. Amara's calmness was unshakable, and that confused Lola. Amara realized that Lola's power lay in making others react emotionally. By remaining composed, she prevented Lola from feeling in control. Every whispered complaint, every rearranged object, every critical remark was carefully observed and stored in Amara's mind. She began to see patterns, recognizing which strategies Lola used to manipulate the household and create tension between her and Kemi. By observing, Amara started planning small ways to reveal Lola's interference without confrontation. She began imagining scenarios where Kemi could see the tricks firsthand, where Lola's manipulations would be clear to everyone. She did not act yet, but she knew that with patience and timing, the truth could be shown, and Lola would be humbled without anger or conflict. Amara also strengthened her bond with Kemi quietly. She continued to speak kindly, support him in his work, and show him that she was competent and strong. Kemi began noticing her wisdom and patience. He realized that Amara's calm demeanor was not passivity but strategy. He admired her ability to remain composed under his mother's constant scrutiny and interference. During these days, Amara often reflected quietly on her situation. She realized that patience, observation, and clever planning were her most powerful tools. She understood that Lola thrived on creating tension but could not control a person who remained calm and aware. By observing without reacting, Amara slowly gained control of the household dynamics. One afternoon, Lola rearranged the kitchen again, expecting Amara to react angrily. Amara merely smiled and said, "Thank you for showing me your way. I will follow it." Lola's face tightened slightly. She was beginning to realize that her usual tactics were not working. Amara had stayed calm, polite, and composed. She had not argued or shown frustration. Lola had met her match in quiet intelligence and patience. Amara felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. She had endured the first wave of Lola's interference, observed every detail, and begun to plan how to reveal the truth without conflict. She understood that patience was not passive, it was strategic. She had the upper hand and Lola had yet to realize it. By the end of the week, the small tricks continued, but their effect had lessened. Kemi noticed that Amara remained strong, that Lola's criticisms were no longer as sharp, and that tension had been diffused. Amara had quietly changed the balance in the household. Her observation and clever patience gave her control, without raising her voice or creating conflict. Amara understood that the days ahead would still be challenging. Lola's interference would continue, but now Amara was prepared. Amara had been living with Lola for over a week, and she had grown quiet strength from patience and careful observation. Every morning she woke up early before Lola and prepared breakfast calmly. She knew that the mother-in-law was watching her closely, ready to criticize every small movement, every word, and every decision. But Amara no longer allowed fear or irritation to control her actions. Instead, she began to think strategically. She realized that patience alone might not be enough. She needed a clever plan to reveal Lola's behavior in a way that everyone could see, without creating direct conflict. Amara started small. One morning, she deliberately left a few utensils slightly out of place on the kitchen counter. She arranged the plates in a way that was convenient for her but not exactly what Lola preferred. Then she went about her routine calmly, preparing the rest of breakfast. Lola, as expected, noticed immediately. "Amara, you have left the utensils in the wrong position again," she said sharply. "Kemi will not like it this way." Amara smiled politely and made no attempt to correct them right away. She knew Lola would move them herself, and that was exactly what she wanted. As Lola moved the utensils to her preferred positions, Amara observed silently. She noted the exact pattern of her mother-in-law's behavior, the way Lola rearranged things carefully, the way she whispered complaints to Kemi, the tone of superiority in her voice. Amara's mind worked like a camera, recording every detail without emotion. She understood that each small act of interference was part of a larger pattern, and recognizing this pattern would help her reveal the truth later. Kemi entered the kitchen, yawning and rubbing his eyes. "Good morning," he said, noticing the slight tension in the air. Lola smiled and quickly adjusted the plates, then whispered softly to him, "Amara doesn't know how to set the table properly. I had to fix it again." Kemi looked at Amara, surprised, but she remained calm, her face composed. She greeted him warmly and continued preparing breakfast as if nothing unusual had happened. Amara realized that showing irritation or defending herself would only strengthen Lola's control. Instead, she had to allow Kemi to witness the behavior naturally. Each small interference, each whisper, and each misplaced item became part of her evidence. She had learned that the best way to manage a controlling person was not through confrontation but through subtle demonstration. During the day, Amara set up more traps quietly. She left her sewing kit in an unusual place, knowing Lola would move it without asking. She placed small notes in the kitchen about tasks, anticipating that Lola would rearrange them. Amara remained calm, polite, and composed, observing everything silently. She never raised her voice or made direct accusations. Her strategy was working. Lola was taking every bait, and Amara was collecting evidence carefully without anyone realizing her plan. In the afternoon, Amara left a basket of clean laundry in the living room, slightly out of order. Lola could not resist. She walked over, rearranged the clothes meticulously, and whispered to Kemi, "Amara didn't fold these correctly again." Kemi glanced at Amara, who simply smiled politely and nodded. He began to notice the pattern. Every minor complaint Lola made was based on deliberate interference, not real mistakes. Amara also used small opportunities to show Lola's behavior indirectly. She invited Kemi to join her in simple household tasks, allowing him to witness the tiny manipulations firsthand. If Lola tried to criticize or adjust something, Kemi saw it clearly. Amara never mentioned the interference directly. She allowed the evidence to present itself naturally. Each day, Kemi's understanding grew, and Lola remained unaware that her tricks were being observed and recorded. Even when Lola whispered doubts or tried to create tension, Amara stayed composed. She learned to listen carefully, absorbing every word and every tone. "Amara, this dish is too spicy," Lola said one morning. "Kemi will not like it." Amara smiled gently and replied, "Thank you for your advice. I will keep it in mind." No anger, no argument. Lola's frustration began to show in small ways, though she did not yet realize it. Amara's calmness became her strength. She understood that cleverness was more powerful than confrontation. By remaining composed, she took control of the household dynamics subtly. Each day she set up minor tests that Lola could not resist, leaving small objects slightly misplaced, preparing meals with tiny variations, and allowing Kemi to observe whispers and rearrangements. Amara's patience and intelligence allowed her to stay one step ahead of her mother-in-law. One afternoon, Amara left a note for Kemi in the kitchen, describing a small chore he needed to do. She placed it where Lola would see it and possibly move it. Sure enough, Lola moved the note, trying to correct it, and whispered to Kemi, "See?" She didn't leave the note in the proper place. Kemi looked at Amara, whose calm smile said it all. He finally began to understand that Lola's manipulations were constant and unnecessary. Amara also strengthened her bond with Kemi during this time. She quietly shared small insights about Lola's behavior without accusing her directly. Kemi learned to recognize the patterns and see the interference firsthand. He began to trust Amara's calm judgment and intelligence, realizing that she had the household under control without drama or confrontation. By the end of the week, Amara had carefully collected enough evidence of Lola's interference. She knew exactly how Lola operated. The little manipulations, the whispers, the rearranged objects, and the small criticisms designed to create tension. Amara had remained calm, collected, and patient throughout. She had met her mother-in-law's control with quiet cleverness, ensuring that every action and reaction was observed, documented, and ready to be revealed at the right moment. Amara's strategy also taught her an important lesson. She understood that strength did not always mean arguing or forcing someone to see the truth. Sometimes, patience, observation, and strategic planning were far more effective. By allowing Lola's own actions to reveal her interference, Amara maintained her dignity while preparing to restore peace in the household. Even Lola began to feel subtle frustration. Her usual tactics were not producing the reactions she expected. Amara's calmness and cleverness were weakening Lola's sense of control, though she did not yet understand it. Each time Lola tried to manipulate a situation, Amara responded with composed patience, carefully letting Kemi witness the interference without confrontation. Amara knew that the day would soon come when the truth would be revealed. She had prepared for it patiently, gathering all the evidence without creating conflict. Every spoon moved, every whisper, and every minor adjustment had been recorded in her mind. She felt confident that, when the right moment arrived, Lola's interference would be exposed naturally, and everyone would see Amara's calm intelligence. Amara had been quietly observing her mother-in-law, Lola, for many days. She had watched every small trick, every whispered complaint, every moved object, and every subtle attempt to create tension between her and Kemi. She had collected all of these moments carefully in her mind, storing them as evidence, and now she felt it was the right time to show Kemi the truth. She wanted him to understand exactly how much his mother had been interfering, and she wanted it done without anger or conflict, in a way that would be clear and undeniable. That evening, after Lola had gone to rest, Amara invited Kemi to sit with her in the living room. The house was quiet, with the soft glow of lamps creating a warm atmosphere. Amara's face was calm, her expression gentle, and her voice steady as she spoke. "Kemi, I want to show you something," she said softly. Kemi looked at her curiously, sensing that something important was about to happen. Amara began by pointing out small things that had happened over the past days. "Remember the utensils I left on the counter last week?" she asked. Kemi nodded. "Lola moved them herself and whispered to you that I had done it wrong. She did this several times not because anything was really wrong, but because she wanted to create tension." She explained each incident calmly, describing how Lola had moved objects, whispered complaints, and tried to make Amara appear careless, all in small, subtle ways. Kemi listened closely, his eyes widening as he began to recall moments he had overlooked. He remembered the way his mother had whispered to him about the misplaced laundry, the slightly rearranged flowers, and the time she had commented on small mistakes in the kitchen. Until now, he had thought these were minor, harmless comments, but hearing Amara's calm explanation made him see the pattern clearly. Amara continued, showing him examples one by one. "See the way she rearranged the utensils yesterday?" she asked, pointing to the kitchen. "She wanted to make it look like I wasn't capable. And the notes I left for you? She moved them and whispered, she didn't place it properly. All of this was intentional." Kemi's expression changed from surprise to understanding. He began to see the extent of Lola's manipulation. Amara's tone was calm and measured. She did not speak angrily or blame Lola harshly. Instead, she presented the facts in a way that was clear and easy to understand. She wanted Kemi to see the truth without feeling like they were in a battle against his mother. Her patience and composure made it impossible for him to doubt what she was saying. Kemi stood slowly, walking to the kitchen to see for himself. He observed the utensils, the notes, and even the flowers. As he looked around, he realized that Amara had been handling the household calmly and efficiently all along. She had maintained peace despite Lola's constant interference. Kemi felt a wave of admiration for his wife. He had never realized how clever and patient she truly was. Meanwhile, Lola had no idea what was happening. She was resting in her room, unaware that her daily manipulations were about to be revealed. Amara had planned this carefully. She had collected every small detail and was now presenting them in a calm, undeniable way. Kemi could see the truth for himself, and Lola had no opportunity to twist the situation. Amara gently guided Kemi through each example. She showed how Lola had moved the laundry, rearranged the kitchen items, and whispered doubts. Kemi began to understand that Amara's patience had been deliberate, not passive. She had observed, recorded, and planned every step, using calm intelligence to handle a controlling mother-in-law. For the first time, Kemi truly saw how strong and capable his wife was. As Kemi absorbed the information, he felt a mixture of shock and pride. Shock because he had not realized the full extent of his mother's interference, and pride because Amara had handled it all so cleverly and gracefully. He realized that she had been protecting their home and their peace without making a scene or causing conflict. Later, when Lola returned to the living room, she found Kemi calmly discussing the events with Amara. "Mother," Kemi said softly but firmly, "I see now what has been happening. Amara has been handling everything patiently and cleverly. I understand how you have been interfering, and I realize that she has been far more capable than I ever thought." Lola froze, her eyes widening in surprise. She had never expected that Amara would have noticed every small trick, let alone collected them so carefully. She was embarrassed. She had assumed that Amara would react with anger or defensiveness, making it easy to continue her manipulations. But Amara had been patient, clever, and calm, and now the truth was clear to everyone. Amara remained composed, her expression gentle. She did not gloat or raise her voice. She simply looked at Lola with quiet confidence, allowing her presence to speak volumes. Lola realized for the first time that she had underestimated her daughter-in-law. She had assumed that Amara would be easy to manipulate, but Amara had outsmarted her with patience and intelligence. Kemi turned to Lola, his voice calm but firm. "Amara has shown me the truth. I see how much patience and wisdom she has used to handle your interference. I hope you understand that we need respect and cooperation in this house, not manipulation and criticism." Lola lowered her eyes, humbled. She had never expected such clarity and calm reasoning from Amara. Amara gently added, "Mother, I am not angry. I only want peace in our home. I want us to live together with respect and understanding. That is why I handled the situation quietly, so that we could see the truth without conflict." Her words were soft but powerful. Lola felt the weight of Amara's patience and wisdom. She understood that her attempts to control the household had failed. The room was quiet for a moment, the atmosphere heavy with realization. Lola finally nodded, a sign of her acknowledgement. She had been caught in her own patterns, and Amara's clever patience had exposed them without drama or confrontation. It was a humbling moment for the mother-in-law. Kemi, now fully understanding, placed a hand on Amara's shoulder. "I had no idea how much you had handled calmly without complaint," he said. "You have been clever, patient, and strong. I am proud of you." Amara smiled faintly, feeling satisfied. She had revealed the truth not with anger but with wisdom. Lola, still embarrassed, realized that she had underestimated Amara. Her confidence had been misplaced, and she had failed to recognize the strength of her daughter-in-law. For the first time, she truly understood that Amara was intelligent, patient, and clever, a woman not easily manipulated or intimidated. After the revelation, the house felt lighter. Lola had been humbled by what had happened, and the once tense atmosphere had shifted. Amara and Kemi moved about their home with a calm ease, knowing that the tricks, whispers, and subtle manipulations that had once caused frustration were now behind them. For Amara, the days of carefully observing, planning, and handling her mother-in-law's interference had paid off. She had won not through anger or confrontation but through patience, intelligence, and quiet cleverness. Lola, meanwhile, had gone to her room after the discussion with Kemi and Amara. She sat quietly reflecting on the past days. For the first time, she truly considered the impact of her actions on her son's marriage. She realized that her attempts to control and criticize had created tension, not harmony. She remembered each time she had whispered doubts, rearranged objects, or questioned Amara's decisions. Each moment now seemed small but significant, revealing the pattern of her interference. She felt a pang of embarrassment as she recognized that her behavior had been unfair and unkind. Amara continued with her daily routines, her demeanor calm and graceful. She cooked meals, tidied the house, and engaged Kemi in quiet conversation. Unlike before, there was no tension in the air, no underlying worry about subtle criticisms. Amara's patience and cleverness had not only revealed the truth but had also restored a sense of peace to the home. She moved with quiet confidence, knowing that her calm intelligence had altered the dynamics of the household for good. Kemi too felt the relief. He had witnessed firsthand how Amara had handled every situation with wisdom and patience. He had seen her observe carefully, plan cleverly, and maintain composure in the face of subtle interference. For the first time he truly understood her strength. He admired her intelligence, her calmness, and her ability to maintain peace while also standing firm in her dignity. He realized how fortunate he was to have a wife who could meet challenges with such quiet power. Lola eventually returned to the living room, her posture humble and thoughtful. She no longer tried to rearrange things or whisper complaints. She had learned that her previous behavior was neither helpful nor respectful. "Amara," she said softly, "I understand now that I have been too harsh and controlling. I see how patient and clever you have been, and I am sorry for creating tension in your home." Amara smiled gently, accepting the apology with grace. She did not dwell on the past but allowed Lola's words to mark a new beginning. From that day on, Lola approached the household differently. She no longer attempted subtle manipulations or critiques. Instead, she offered small gestures of support and kindness. She helped when needed, but she no longer assumed control or criticized every minor detail. The atmosphere in the house improved immediately. Amara and Kemi could enjoy their daily life without the constant tension that had once shadowed them. Amara continued to show her quiet strength. She had proven that patience, intelligence, and careful planning could overcome even persistent interference. Lola had underestimated her, but the lesson had been learned. Amara's approach had been deliberate. She had observed every trick, collected evidence carefully, and revealed the truth with calmness and clarity. Her dignity had remained intact, and her cleverness had won the day. Kemi noticed the change as well. He felt a renewed sense of respect and admiration for his wife. He observed how she continued to manage the household with grace and intelligence, how she had met every challenge with calm cleverness, and how she had restored peace without confrontation. Their bond grew stronger each day, built on trust, understanding, and mutual respect. Kemi realized that Amara's quiet intelligence was one of the most valuable strengths in their marriage. The household routines settled into a smooth rhythm. Amara and Kemi shared responsibilities, cooked together, and enjoyed quiet evenings without fear of manipulation or criticism. Lola, humbled and thoughtful, learned to respect boundaries and act with patience. She had witnessed firsthand how a calm, intelligent approach could counteract interference and maintain harmony. Her perspective had shifted, and she began to appreciate Amara's wisdom and composure. Amara reflected on the entire experience. She realized that true strength often lies in patience and observation, not in loud confrontation. By remaining calm and clever, she had navigated a challenging situation, protected her home, and maintained her dignity. She had met a wicked mother-in-law and shown that quiet intelligence could overcome interference, manipulation, and subtle control. As the days passed, the house became a place of warmth, understanding, and respect. Lola occasionally offered help with meals or small chores, but she no longer attempted to assert dominance. Kemi and Amara's partnership had grown stronger, built on shared respect, understanding, and the lessons learned from the past weeks. Amara's cleverness and patience had not only solved a difficult situation but had also strengthened the bonds of the family. Even in moments of quiet, Amara's intelligence and calmness continued to guide the household. She moved through her days with poise, handling challenges thoughtfully and wisely. Kemi relied on her judgment, and Lola respected her presence. The home, once tense and fraught with subtle interference, had become peaceful and harmonious. Amara's approach had been deliberate from the start. She had known that confrontation would only escalate tensions. Instead, she observed, recorded, and planned. She had allowed Kemi to witness the truth naturally, and she had exposed Lola's interference without creating anger or conflict. Her patience and cleverness had not only solved the problem but had also left a lasting lesson in humility for Lola. The resolution brought calm and peace to every corner of the house. Amara had met the challenge with quiet intelligence, patience, and strategy, and she had won. Lola had learned respect, patience, and humility. Kemi had learned to appreciate his wife's wisdom and strength more deeply. And Amara had demonstrated that cleverness and calm determination could overcome manipulation, creating harmony in the home. From that day forward, the household functioned smoothly. Amara and Kemi shared tasks, communicated openly, and enjoyed a life free from interference. Lola, humbled and thoughtful, supported them without attempting control. The lessons of respect, patience, and intelligence had been learned. Amara's quiet cleverness had brought peace, strengthened bonds, and ensured that her home remained a place of harmony. The experience had left a lasting impression on everyone. Amara had met the wicked mother-in-law with calm intelligence, patience, and cleverness, and she had won. Lola had learned her lesson, Kemi had grown in understanding and respect, and the household had regained balance. Peace returned, not through conflict or argument, but through quiet wisdom, careful planning, and patience. Amara and Kemi looked at each other one evening, smiling quietly. They knew their bond was stronger, their home more peaceful, and their lives more harmonious. Lola, sitting nearby, reflected on her past mistakes and the lessons she had learned. Respect, patience, and understanding now guided her behavior. Amara's intelligence and calmness had not only resolved the situation but had also changed the dynamics of the family for the better. The house, once tense with subtle conflicts, was now filled with warmth, cooperation, and mutual respect. Amara's strategy had worked perfectly. She had exposed the interference, maintained dignity, and restored harmony. Lola had learned to respect boundaries and act thoughtfully. Kemi had gained a deeper appreciation for his wife's wisdom and composure. And Amara had proven that patience, intelligence, and cleverness could overcome manipulation, creating a home filled with peace and understanding. The days continued, each filled with calm routines, laughter, and cooperation. Amara's quiet strength continued to guide the household. Lola had transformed from a controlling, interfering presence into a thoughtful, respectful family member. Kemi and Amara shared their lives fully, strengthened by the lessons learned from the past weeks. Amara had shown that cleverness, patience, and calm intelligence could meet the challenge of a wicked mother-in-law. She had won not through anger or confrontation, but through careful observation, quiet strategy, and thoughtful action. The household was peaceful, the family bonds were strong, and the lessons of respect and patience would remain for years to come. The resolution was complete. Peace returned to Amara and Kemi's home. Lola had learned her lesson. Amara had demonstrated quiet intelligence and cleverness. Harmony, understanding, and respect now filled the household. The wicked mother-in-law had met her match, and everyone knew that patience, observation, and calm wisdom could overcome interference and create lasting peace.